What do superbugs, science, and youth advocacy all have in common? They're all part of the global fight against antimicrobial resistance, or AMR for short. It's when bacteria and other microbes learn to resist the medications we use to treat infections, making even simple illnesses harder to cure. But here's the good news. Young scientists and advocates all around the world are stepping up, using innovation, creativity, and collaboration to make the difference. In today's episode of Antimicrobial Talks, or AMR Talk in short, we're chatting with one of them, Calvin Shee, a microbiologist, AMR advocate, and the founder of United for Global Antimicrobial Stewardship, UGAS, who's showing us just how powerful youth leadership can be in tackling one of the biggest health challenges in our time. He was also recently awarded the prestigious Merdeka Award Grant for international attachment for his groundbreaking proposal to integrate microbial genomics with public health policy in the fight against AMR. This podcast is an initiative by the AMR Research and Work on Innovation and Sustainable Solutions Research, also known as the AMR WISE Research Group from University Malaya. Without further ado, Calvin, welcome to AMR Talk. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Hello, it's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, your bio, it's really long and you're really young. You've achieved so much at such a young age, from research to advocacy. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and what sparked your interest in microbiology and antimicrobial resistance.
So, this is, for me, it would be a more eccentric starting point. I was grew up a nerd, and I was inspired by some documentaries like Unnatural Selection, Biohackers. At one point, it was because it was some immature thinking, thought to be making rats, frogs glow in the dark, something like Dr. Frankenstein would do. But then, as I grow up, I think that my knowledge can be better used for mankind, for humanity. And then I was always a sort of proactive student. So when I was in my first year, I started approaching one of my current supervisor. Then was my lecturer, Prof. Chan. So I offered myself to help him as a research intern in his lab. He was working on multi-drug resistance bacteria. So from there, I started widening my knowledge in bacteriology. So that was the switch from genomics, genetics to bacteria. Because initially I wanted to do genetics. Then when I enrolled in University Malaya, there wasn't such choice. They combined bacteria, microbiology, and genetics. So, instead of becoming a Dr. Frankenstein, I get to become bioterrorist because I get to deal with bacteria. But again, that was immature thinking. So that was the starting point when I got in touch with bacteria. And throughout the years, I started reading some journals, and then I got to realize that bacteria is evolving at a really, really fast pace, and they are dividing very fast. So in human, we have a lifespan of 50 to 90 on average, but bacteria E. coli is about 20 minutes for one generation. So, and bacteria like E. coli only take them for about 10 generation to develop resistance against antibiotics in a controlled settings. So that's the moment I realized the pace of bacteria evolving cannot catch up with the rate of us developing new drugs, because the last controlled approved drug was developed more than 20 years ago. I mean, the new major class of antibiotics. So in light of that, I think the solution lies within the regulation, not the development of R&D, because no matter how much drug we can produce, bacteria are smart to evolve against it. So that's where I got to realize scientists, microbiologists must step out of the lab to tell them, the public on how bacteria can develop resistance and how we can unite it, not just microbiologists, clinical medicines people, pharmacists, and mass communication and international law and policy to regulate the drug use not just in Malaysia but also around the world, because there's no border for pathogens to cross, just like COVID.
That's very true. When you said about Frankenstein, well, the reason we have this much knowledge of science is because somebody had a crazy idea to do something. So hopefully you're going in the right direction. Just don't do anything so crazy. So many people see this problem of antimicrobial resistance or AMR as something that's very heavy, or, it's not my concern. It should be something to do with a policy, something to do with the doctors. So how do you think young people can make it more relatable or engaging for their peers?
I think one of the reason why AMR is seen as a technical issue, a policy-based problem, is how the narrative has been for the past decades, or at least for the past few years, because of the technical nature. But it is also the responsibility of the youth to change the narrative. So that's why I'm trying to do this youth-led initiative to empower more youth to speak in their own language. For example, Gen Z or Gen X. So in their way that the youth can understand. Because we all know the statement of by 2050 there's going to be 10 million deaths caused by AMR, the leading death cause. But it is also the youth of today that is going to live in that 2050. So in light of that, that's the reason why I emphasize so much on youth initiative, to speak in a way that youth trying to understand. So we've made something really interactive, or nowadays we call it gamifying education, because the problem of Gen Z is common. We all have this short attention span, maybe because of the scrolling. So we make things like card games, music, comic books, or in a more interactive manner to catch Gen Z's attention. That's the first step. Once we get the traction or the attention from them, that's where we go deep into the knowledge of AMR. So we are developing some online courses to equip a wider population to understand the nature of AMR.
Do you think in general the youth even have an interest for this? Because 2050, like you said, there's going to be a lot of deaths caused by AMR. A lot of people think, okay, it's 2050's problem, but it's less than 3 decades away. And like you said, we're still going to be there.
Yeah.
So do you think it's more like, it's not really a problem, so why should I go and do all these activities? Do you think that's an issue?
Yeah, I think that's the most common issue. We know the theory, but we never exercise that. Again, I think one of the problem is they haven't seen the severity. So once they see the severity and people are actually dying from it more frequently, that's the moment they realize that this is actually a big problem. But in order to prevent that, I believe there's a lot of narrative that we can do to drive the momentum, instead of focusing on just the technicalities and government top-down initiative. I believe the grassroots, bottom-up initiative, like what AMR WISE is doing now, sensitizing the population, will be important for this stage until people actually recognize the severity of the issue.
That's a great answer. So how do you think the youth leadership to contributing to the global AMR agenda in the next decade, how do you see it happening across Asia or ASEAN countries? Do you think it's growing?
As far as I see, there isn't much youth leadership at the moment within ASEAN. Through my engagement of the International Conference on Youth, SDG related or public health related, unfortunately there isn't much. I believe part of the reason was because of its technicality. Because this initiative, I believe, should be starting from someone who actually know the core issue or something about microbiology in depth to be able to see the bigger relation of how AMR is tied to one health, the health of animal, human, and environment. So the initiative must be led by someone who is either from medical background or microbiology background, because people from international relations or policy making is not going to be able to know that by themselves. So, so in light of this, I think there's an urgent need to urge maybe clinicians or microbiologists from other countries to shape their own youth leaders to start this initiative, and that's what my NGO United for Global Antimicrobial Stewardship is trying to do. We are trying to train up international ambassador in different countries, and through capacity building for them, they can shape their own community. And the eventual goal is that we have a branch of UGAS in Malaysia, Indonesia, and other ASEAN countries to draft an international policy for an international government like WHO to tailor to each country, not just a general top-down, every country must follow this set of strict rules, because we understand different climate and different funding and situation in countries, they require a different policy. But I have an interesting term. Now people are advocating for multilateralism, where there's a common cooperation horizontally. But in light of AMR, I think there is a need for multi-verticalism. That means a top-down approach, but at the same time, focusing on each country's priority in the core issue of AMR, according to their own nation's need, but under the same umbrella of dealing with AMR focus, if you get what I mean. Mm-hmm. So it's grounded in AMR, but tailored to each country. Similar to global local policy.
That's a very interesting approach. And I definitely think your NGO, UGAS, for listeners, UGAS stands for United for Global Antimicrobial Stewardship. It's definitely a stepping stone for a lot of the youths out there that, hey, you can do this too. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were an undergraduate when you started this initiative, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you can tell us a little bit on how this started, what inspired you to start UGAS, and what are some things that UGAS has done so far?
So it started with micro grant opportunity, collaboration between University Malaya and private pharmacy company, pharmacy and beauty retail, Watsons. So we proposed to raise AMR awareness as well as launching a drug disposal initiative to empower us, contribute to the challenge of AMR, because pharmaceutical pollution is one of the main challenge. So we proposed this proposal to that competition, micro grant competition, and fortunately we were able to secure the grant as the champion. Then that was the starting point of everything. Initially, we were just a project to get this grant and initiate this project, and then we came to realize we can definitely do something beyond this, just a short, small one-off project, because there isn't anyone who has done this in the country at that moment. Youth-led advocacy grounded in AMR itself. So why not? So that's what I say to my teammates, and then we were all fortunately on board, and then that's how it expanded. So from the collaboration between the Watsons and University Malaya, we launched a carnival. So that was the pilot, and also by far our, I think, flagship or biggest event we had, where we collected expired medication and we turned them into artwork, because the technical problem of AMR is too theoretical. People very hard to engage with us. So we try to make it artistic and creatively. So people will start looking at, what is this bacteria in pills form? What's the relations of it? So so we make those art and we showcase it in a carnival. Initially, we thought an art exhibition may be too boring for some. So we integrate the elements of interactive, educational, where we add in the batik painting, the national traditional art, but bacteria theme. So people, while painting it, can know more about AMR itself and bacteria. And we also collaborated with a lot of NGOs and government departments. I think AMR Wise was there as well. We invited Malaysia One Health Network and also the Government Ministry of Health, where they are launching this My MediSafe, which is a nationwide medication disposal program. So that's how it got started. We had this big carnival where we reached out to more than 500 people with the collaboration between private, government, and youth initiative. That was, I think through that event, we got a lot of exposure and a lot of current collaborator. AMR Wise is one of it, and that's why I'm here today, because that's how we got to know each other. And that also attracts some other private companies like Alpro Pharmacy, where they reach out to us to help them to promote their drug disposal program as well. And also other university inviting us to collaborate to go for some community outreach to teach the indigenous or underprivileged community on how to deal with their expired or unused medication at home.
Yeah, I was indeed over there, and it was a really great program, a very big scale program for just a group of, how many of you are in your UGAS team?
By that time was just 9, but we collaborated with Faculty of Medicine Student Club. So they really bring in the energy and the event planning skills that we didn't have at that time. So it was really helpful from them. But the whole project, I think, was about 35 people. 35 to 40 people who organized this event.
It was very well done. And yeah, there were even like little children there who were, I remember having a coloring contest on antimicrobial resistance theme related drawings. It was very well done. One word that I've heard from you so far is collaboration. Do you think collaboration is very important for youth-led organizations to become a bigger thing, to have more of an impact?
Definitely. Youth have the energy, the drive, the creativity. At the same time, they need the expertise to be sustainable. So at the same time, of course, resources and funding. So while we have the energy and drive, and we don't need money at the time, because the students, they don't have the consent. And so that's the time that we have the immense time to learn a skill set and develop our energy and creativity into it. But at the same time, we need someone to point us what's the next direction and to support us in our initiative. So I think that's the thing that definitely we need emphasize and more support from the government and the people that has the expertise. That's what we are trying to create within UGAS. We have the group of youth at the same time is being supported and advised, mentored by the experts in that field.
So the government can definitely help. But how about universities and institutions? How do you think they can better support young scientists and advocates working around this issue of AMR?
When it comes to AMR, like I say, it's a multidisciplinary issue that requires microbiologists, law, international relations people. Often these people they are working in silos, it's isolated in their own field. So in light of this, I would say institutions, they need to implement more multidisciplinary programs that engage both, although they are from different majors, but for the sake of the problem itself, they should practice more collaborations between different majors so that the science students can use their knowledge to form science-based policy. At the same time, the law students or the policymakers can understand the issue more in depth instead of isolating in their legalities and the formal issues. So I think the future, definitely institutions needs to revolutionize instead of silo-based study, to a more multidisciplinary style of programs or fellowships. I think that comes to government when they frame the educational syllabus as well. We need to engage more multidisciplinary horizontal study together.
Right. I think I very much agree with you. Multidisciplinary action is very, very important. Working alone is just like trying to clap with one hand. You're not going to have any. So, in regard to that, what are some challenges that young people face when they're trying to make an impact on advocacy? Or are there any challenges in particular that you faced trying to come up with your NGO? And
I would say experience and resources, because I'm a microbiology major student. So when I was trying to solve this problem, I wasn't at that time equipped with event planning, organization, management, leadership, because I want to solve the problem, but I don't have all this skill set or even funding acquisition. So when you step out of your comfort zone, a lot of new things you got to learn. At the same time, you may be a headless chicken, don't know where to run to. So we need mentors. At the same time, we need the mentors that can teach us how to run an NGO. So that should be something from outside our field that we should be actively seeking. So I think main challenge for youth is to find that suitable mentor to teach you for your own agenda, the issue that you're trying to solve. At the same time, also point you to get the right direction, the right funding. So you need a few different mentors, the mentor in your own field, the mentor in running the NGO and funding acquisition. I think in short, we have to be proactive in seeking. And I was very fortunate that I joined a few different conference, that I met some people that is in that particular field. So from there I try to get the hint, how can I better run my organization, how can I increase my chance to get funding. So when it comes to addressing your own agenda, the youth need to be proactive into looking into these people, or if better, there is a top-down from government or from institution that has a center to train up youth leader, that will be much more efficient.
all right. Thank you for that. And I hope our young listeners out there can pick up an advice or two from you. So also for our listeners out there, Calvin has had the opportunity to, actually is going to have the opportunity to attend an attachment at the French National Center for Scientific Research in Paris. This is such an exciting opportunity as a Malaysian to go and represent our country over there. So what do you hope to gain from this experience, and how do you think it will contribute to your work here back in Malaysia?
So the work that I'm working on is on a carnivorous pitcher plant. In Malay, we call it periok kera. Basically, it's a pitfall pitcher cup carnivorous plant that my supervisor, Prof. Chan, our group has proven that actually it is not just the plant acid that is digesting the prey when it falls inside, but it's a synergistic relation between the plant acid and the bacteria. So in light of that, we are curious what are the bacteria and their function in digesting the prey. Because when the prey fall inside, they get digested. At the same time, their gut microbiome get released into the juice as well. So there are some good bacteria that will further help break down of the prey. At the same time, there is also some pathogen that the plant need to resist against. So there is an element of self-defense mechanism that is suppressing the bacteria. At the same time, there is also two groups of scientists arguing. The plant itself actually doesn't harbor bacteria. It's suppressing the bacteria. Another group is saying that the bacteria is diverse over time to help the plant to digest the prey. So I think I'm in between these two perspectives, that the plant has the effect of suppressing pathogenic bacteria while promoting the sort of like good probiotics for digestion. So we are looking into the perspective of antimicrobial compound from this bacteria, from the juice. At the same time, also looking into the bacteria that has the biocatalytic activity, that is able to break down complex chemicals like chitin, which is made up of the insect exoskeleton, and some fungi. So these are very applicable because the bacteria that has the ability to break down these complex carbohydrates or chemicals can be breaking down into simple sugar, which is a very useful biotech in fermentation technology for biofuel production or for food production, tempeh. So when I'm in France, what I'll be doing is to study the metagenome, which is the total bacteria of the juice, to see who are these bacteria and what's the function, the gene of this bacteria. And another hand is we are doing the metabolite study. What are the chemicals that is being released inside the juice, whether they have the antimicrobial compound effect.
That's very interesting. Learning something new every day. So, your study, for example, you detected pathogen in the pitcher plant. Do you think studying microbial ecosystems like plants or insects, they have the potential to inspire new solutions to antibiotic resistance?
Definitely, I think most of the solution comes from nature-based. In fact, CRISPR genetic engineering technology was developed from the bacteria self-defense mechanism against the virus bacteriophage. So, that's how they found the enzyme Cas9 to remove the mutation made by the virus when it's infecting the bacteria. So in light of this, we are looking into the self-defense mechanism of the plant, and in the same time, the interplay between the bacteria and the plant. So how plants suppress the pathogenic bacteria can also be one of the perspectives that we are looking into, to derive the same mechanism that can be applied as a treatment solution to suppress how bacteria grow, is either in plant or in human.
Definitely a very One Health approach. Okay, so Calvin, what advice would you like to give our young scientists or students who would like to contribute in the fight against AMR but don't know where to start?
I would say you can equip yourself starting from knowledge and engage with the grassroots opportunity. That's how UGAS started. I started. I equip myself with as much as knowledge I need. And when you are in your institution, your university, or in your junior college, there's always something that grassroots can be done, especially in AMR, because this is a rising topic that is going to be more and more severe in the coming years. So just keep doing it for a few years. This will be the future trend, believe me. And at the same time, try to engage with your teacher or the lecturer to do something. And I believe there's a lot of micro grant opportunity that we can draft our proposals to. And that's the opportunity given by the institution and the government at the moment.
Thank you so much. So finally, what's your vision of an ideal world where AMR research, advocacy, and youth involvement? Do you think there is a potential for this in the next decade?
Definitely, because at the moment, ASEAN and Malaysia, we are fortunately, a rising power. And our economic is becoming better and better nowadays, that we are starting to transition to focus more on climate, public health. So this, along with the severity of the AMR issue, I believe there will be much more collaboration done between countries and within country itself. That if we collaborate, that would be the best, that if we can collaborate between different different expertise group, microbiology in academia, in clinical practice, pharmacy, lawmaker, policymaker, because this is a multi-sectoral problem. In fact, I think WHO has been trying to collaborate with World Food Forum. They call this tripartite. So that's how a big lens can be when there's much more collaboration done in a more extensive manner. We can tackle the AMR issue in a more effective manner as well. And coupled with the youth, I think this is the most important aspect currently that we need to emphasize, because the future generation is going to be the one that is suffering from this problem, and they need to be the one that inform the most. Unfortunately, based on the current statistic, they are not as educated as the senior generations. So it would be ideal if at different generation, they are informed on the severity of AMR gradually, so that the future generation can be prepared and solve this problem in regulation, because we can't just always rely on technology and we waste up all the medication we have.
Most certainly. Do you think the grassroots level for people to actually start learning about antimicrobial resistance starts from primary schools, high school? Where do you think we should start implementing this?
I would say a gradual increment in the technicalities from primary school should be starting to emphasize, because it can be introduced as a very simple concept as long as it's preparing them to, I would say ideally by secondary school age, they should be having a basic knowledge on what is drug-resistant pathogens, so that they can be informed on as little as the issue of how can we deal with our daily medication waste, because that's how it started. It's always start from the household when they are going into industrial or agricultural field, because those are the major pollution of AMR, pharmaceutical pollution that charge AMR. So before they leave secondary school, there must be a informed decision made by them.
All right. Thank you for that. Now, Calvin, last but not least, as one of the faces of AMR advocacy in Malaysia, what is one message you would like to give our audience?
I would say at the moment, Malaysia would need mass education on AMR, that we need to empower the youth and as well as the adult generations to collaboratively work on this, understanding this issue, to at least be informed on the severity of AMR. And that's how it started. When the population understand the criticality and the severity of the issue, and that's when the voice can go up to the government, and that's when the action can be made to solve the needs. It's always start from the population itself. So to do that, we need to empower within our community. And for that, we need to see the problem before it actually happens.
All right. So in a nutshell, everyone out there, including you, plays a big role in combating AMR. So thank you once again, Calvin, for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us today. Your passion for science, innovation, and youth empowerment truly highlights how the next generation is leading the charge in tackling one of the greatest health challenges of our time. To our listeners, if you're inspired by Calvin's story, you can learn more about his work and the UGAS initiative online. We'll put the link here. All right, so I am your host, Vedika Bhatt. This AMR Wise podcast series is brought to you by University Malaya. This podcast series was created by Prof. Sashila Srila Sri Palavannar, an ID physician in University Malaya, Associate Professor Dr. Cindy Tay, a microbiologist in University Malaya, and me, myself, Vedika. The recording of this podcast was supported by the Department of Social and Preventative Medicine and the Visibility, Information and Communication Unit, University Malaya. Thank you so much for listening to us. Please join us and stay tuned for our next episode. This podcast is supported by the grant from the Foundation to Prevent Antibiotic Resistance. Don't forget to subscribe to AMR Talk on YouTube and Spotify for more conversations with experts, researchers, and advocates working to make a difference in the fight against AMR. Till next time, bye-bye.